What's going on, guys? Kim Coop here, back with week 5 of our APA Ascension Draft League. So this week, we're taking on Coach Alex and the Wisconsin Whimsicott. If you missed last week, had a nice win, picked up a 6-0 victory over the Goldenrod Zipstrika to get us back to 2-2, which puts us, I think, around 12th in the league. So we're just kind of barely on the cusp of playoffs. Obviously, still got lots of weeks left, but it'd be really nice to pick up a win here. So yeah, let's get into team prep for, I guess, what my game plan is going into this week. So looking at Alex's team, he's got a scary Pokemon for his first pick in Jirachi. That Steel Psychic type is really nice because it's able to take on something like my Latios extremely well, resisting both Psychic and Draco Meteor, my two main stab options. It has obviously Serene Grace, which is terrifying because with something like a Choice Scarf set, you can Iron Head flinch stuff to death. You're going to be faster and everything. And yeah, Serene Grace plus flinch chances is not pretty. It also gets really good coverage, being one of those all-around base 100 mythicals. Gets awesome coverage, so it gets stuff like Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, Grass Knot, Fire Punch, Ancient Power, all sorts of crazy moves from events, that stuff. So yeah, definitely a really scary Pokemon to face. Has a lot of versatility, great speed tier, a lot of bulk, just a lot of things that Jirachi can do very well, and so it's definitely a focus for my prep here because that's a scary Pokemon. Also got really offensive Pokemon in Mamoswine, phenomenal dual stab combo, able to run items like Choice Scarf, Life Orb, Choice Band even, Focus Sash, all sorts of stuff is great on Mamoswine, and Mamoswine's also kind of a cool pick because it also gets Freeze Dry, so even though you can run a physically based Mamoswine and Mamoswine's special attack is not great, you could run something like Naive Mamoswine with Life Orb Freeze Dry to Oko Physically Defensive Quagsire, which Mamoswine otherwise could not beat. It also gets Stealth Rocks, Knockoff, gets some Rock type coverage moves, so Mamoswine again is another Pokemon that's very scary to face. Moving down the list, we also got Rotom Wash, pretty standard, nice bulky pivot with Volt Switch. Gives Alex a ground immunity, also gets defog, hazard removal, and just kind of annoying Pokemon to face. Pretty bulky, and then of course it gets pretty much every single status move. It gets Toxic, Will-O-Wisp, and Thunder Wave, so it can be very, very annoying to face. Salazzle, also a scary Pokemon with its stab combination against my team. The fact that it's also faster than everything is also scary. Something like HP Grass, Sludge Wave, Fire move is going to hit my team extremely hard, especially because it can boost its attack or its special attack with Nasty Plot. So definitely something to be concerned about. Also got Slurpuff, Belly Drummer potentially, and also gets Sticky Web if you want to use it that way. But yeah, Belly Drum set. We have a Quagsire, so it's not the biggest deal in the world, but could be annoying. Persian is my opponent's Status Z user. So really use Alolan Persian as a Z Parting Shot Pokemon. So what Z Parting Shot does is it gives a -1 to your opponent's attack and special attack, and it switches Persian out into another Pokemon, and that Pokemon that comes in for Z Parting Shot then gets restored to full HP. So it can be very nice for late game if one of your breakers was worn down. So like, say for example, I got the Jirachi down to like 12%, and then Alex saves it, and then he goes out into a Alolan Persian and goes for Z Parting Shot. He's able to bring the Jirachi back, and suddenly it's at 100% again. So definitely a scary option. Swellow is the all Z move user. I don't really expect Swellow to come in this matchup. I just don't see it doing a whole lot of work. I do expect one of Hitmonlee or Breloom to come. Probably Breloom because it has a nice Spore, which is Spore is just an awesome sleep move, 100% accurate, and I don't really have good resist on my team. I mean, my sleep immunity is Ferrothorn, which of course is not going to like taking on fighting type like Breloom. And then his Mega, finally his Mega Blastoise, and just an all-around solid Mega. It doesn't have a phenomenal speed tier, but it has solid bulk, decent speed, and pretty good special attack. And it also gets a really wide range of coverage moves as a starter Pokemon. So it gets Ice Beam, Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse, all kinds of water moves. And when you combine that with its Mega Launcher ability, it can do a ton of damage with those pulse moves. So definitely a scary Pokemon, and one that I need to be careful of. I don't really have great switch-ins for it on my team. So yeah, I definitely have to be careful playing around that. And finally, he's got a Taxi Pokemon in Flygon. Yeah, Flygon, it's the ground dragon coverage is really good against my team, especially if you're running something like Z Outrage, where you can just pick up fire off a really strong move into one of my Pokemon and try to pick up the KO without having to lock yourself in Outrage and risk being revenge killed by something like Diancie. So Flygon could possibly come. Again, I have a Quagsire with Unaware, so the Dragon Dance stats kind of get shut down, and Flygon is really not that strong of a Pokemon without boosts. So having the Unaware Pokemon, I do feel like it shuts it down a little bit more, and I would expect to see like Mamoswine as the ground type over Flygon. But yeah, let's go into the team prep. So coming into prep here, I expect my opponent to bring something like an Expert Belt or a Leftovers Jirachi that tend to be more offensive with really good coverage. So something like Iron Head, U-Turn, Fire Punch, and maybe like Grass Knot for my Quagsire, since that otherwise walls that Jirachi set. I also expect a Mamoswine here. Like I said, the dual stab is really good against my team. Obviously, like one of my best grounders is Latias and Moltres, but Ice type is going to obliterate Latias. It's going to do a ton of Moltres as well, and Mamoswine can also pack stuff like Rock Tomb to hit Moltres. So I don't have great switches to Mamoswine, and it can also get up rocks fairly safely, even against something like my lead Diancie. So I feel like that would be a pretty solid rocker for my opponent to bring if he opted to go that route. Rotom Wash, I definitely expected to come. Having a ground immune for him would be super nice, as well as having the ability to pivot around and bring in threats to my team like Jirachi and Salazzle and Mamoswine or Blastoise freely with the slow Volt Switch. It's definitely something I considered, and then Defog I felt like could also be valuable since I have shown a tendency to like to put up Stealth Rocks or Spikes in my games. Salazzle again has a really good speed tier against my team and hits everything pretty hard with its stab combo, along with something like HP Grass for coverage. Can kind of bot pretty much everything on my team. So I expect to see Salazzle. I wasn't too sure that Slurpuff or Lowland Persian would come. I didn't think they have that good of a matchup. Swallow, I was like, that's definite no. And Hitmonlee versus Breloom. I knew one of them was coming, but I expected Breloom just for the reasons I talked about earlier. It's a little bit better against my team with Spore support and having the Grass type to hit stuff like Quagsire. And finally, I expected Blastoise. Like I said, the Mega hits super hard, and my team doesn't really have great switch-ins to it. So I did expect to see Blastoise come, and I was fully prepared for this battle to be kind of a war of trying to get Mega Blastoise chipped down into range of some of my strong attacks. But yeah, so with that idea of Jirachi, Mamoswine, Rotom Wash, Salazzle, Breloom, and Mega Blastoise team in mind, with possibly an option for something like Flygon or Slurpuff, I went ahead and started prepping my team. So our first Pokemon here, we have Latias. This Pokemon is pretty much my dedicated Breloom counter. As you can see from the item, we're packing the Safety Goggles Heat Tech move. Latias is great because with the Psychic Dragon type, it resists Breloom's very spammable stabs and Mach Punch and Bullet Seed. And of course, I gave this thing enough defensive investment to take on Life Orb Adamant Rock Tomb from Breloom. It doesn't get too KO'd by that. Yep, and then I'm running enough speed on Latias for his base 100s. Obviously, I can't reach something like Salazzle speed tier, so I figured running enough speed for Flygon and Jirachi was going to be probably my best play. Other than that, we've got Roost to try and help us have a little more longevity on our Latias. Draco Meteor is really only there to try and get off, have more power than Psychic for trying to KO something like Blastoise or Lowland Persian, if they did make an appearance. Also does a lot more to Rotom Wash and Mamoswine than Psychic, but primarily is there in a scenario where Latias is in against Flygon. I can make sure I can OHKO Flygon. Psychic is also pretty spammable against my opponent's team outside of the Jirachi and the Persian, but with that in mind, my opponent's best switch-ins to this Latias are going to be Jirachi and Persian. So I ended up putting the Thunder Wave on this Pokemon, because in the event that it's a Choice Scarf Jirachi, paralyzing Jirachi, a Choice Scarf Jirachi is going to be incredible, because Choice Scarf Jirachi is not going to run a ton of bulk, and its best asset is, of course, its speed and the ability to flinch stuff with Iron Head. So if you take that speed away, it becomes a lot easier to deal with, especially since I'm packing stuff like Moltres, as you can see below, and then Diancie with Earth Power. So Jirachi is much more manageable with that. So that's the main reason we're using Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave also, like I said, catching the Persian and slowing that down. Persian's actually faster than everything on my team as well. I believe it hits 115, so it's going to be faster than my Diancie. So potentially if he's packing like HP Steel, Life Orb, Persian, he could do a ton of damage to me or he could KO my Diancie if it's taking a little bit of chip. So paralyzing that thing would also be awesome. But yeah, that's our Latias. Really, it's there. We can pivot it into Rotom Wash, and primarily, like I said, it deals with Breloom. It's bulky overall, so I can get off hits on threats like Salazzle, assuming it's not boosted, Mamoswine, or Mega Blastoise, but primarily Breloom. I was also super worried about Salazzle, as I mentioned, so that's where our Snorlax set comes in. We got leftovers Thick Fat Snorlax, so we're already having damage from Salazzle's most powerful move, which is going to be Fire Blast. We have a ton of special defense investment, as you can see. So we're going to be able to take up even like +2 Life Orb hits pretty darn well from Salazzle. We're going to be able to easily 2-hit KO with Return while avoiding being... we avoid getting 2-hit KO'd by Life Orb, +2 Life Orb Sludge Wave, I believe, with the spread. So yeah, definitely liking the Snorlax spread. We also have Rest to ignore Toxics if something like Rotom Wash wants to try and Toxic my Snorlax, or if it's like a Toxic Jirachi. It's actually not going to be able to do anything against this because I'm just going to be able to remove that Toxic and click Sleep Talk and either get off a nice return against his team. His only return resist is going to be Jirachi, or I can Curse and start being a threat and make it to where stuff like Mamoswine or Jirachi are really not going to be able to try and hack their way through me with Curse. So that's our Snorlax set. Pretty much our dedicated Salazzle Lancer and possibly also a late game cleaner. If I can get rid of the Breloom 100%, I think the Snorlax has a pretty good matchup to just Curse and boost and take stuff on. It also has a really nice niche with all its special defense. It actually doesn't get 2-hit KO'd by Aura Sphere, so in the event that I need an emergency check on Mega Blastoise to get off damage on that thing, Snorlax can also fit that role. So that's why we're running that build there. Our third Pokemon here, we got Moltres, finally making use of the fact that we've given Moltres as our All-Z user captain, packing the Grassium Z Solar Beam on this thing. Flame Body, over pressure this week. Flame Body really just nice. If my opponent's bringing Jirachi, if he's going for Iron Head or U-turn or something like that, every time Jirachi clicks one of those resistant moves against Moltres, Moltres will take a little bit of chip, and I'll have the opportunity to burn the Jirachi, which will also severely cripple it. But yeah, we're just packing dual stabs here, or one stab, Flamethrower, and then Solar Beam to work with our Grassium Z. Roost, again, in case my opponent does get up rocks, I can make sure I have a little bit more bulk, or if I, say, burn Jirachi, I can stay in and just kind of roost all that thing down a little bit. Yeah, Roost is just a nice move. Make sure this Moltres lasts as long as possible. We're also packing Sunny Day for some heat. Sunny Day boosted Flamethrowers are really going to do a ton to everything on my opponent's team. But the real reason for the Sunny Day is my opponent obviously knows that I can run any Z move on Moltres, so if they're predicting me to run Grassium Z and they end up making a really good double scouting for the Grassium Z, that's fine, like a great play on their part. But the pain of Moltres isn't over for my opponent. So if I click Sunny Day against something like Blastoise, the Sunny Day having water damage actually will mean that I can live a hit from the Mega Blastoise, and then I'll be able to fire off regular Solar Beams ad nauseum against Rotom Wash and Mega Blastoise and Mamoswine and all that stuff. So just because my opponent managed to bait my Z move doesn't necessarily mean that he's out of the woods, and that's kind of what I'm counting on, is that meme coming through. But yeah, assuming it's a standard Jirachi without something like Thunderbolt or Ancient Power, Moltres is also a pretty good check to that, which is awesome. And of course, Grassium Z is a great bait for Rotom Wash and Mega Blastoise, so I can take care of two really annoying Pokemon for my team with one fell Z move swoop. Our fourth Pokemon we got here is Diancie. Back in Moonblast, Diamond Storm. Diamond Storm is really just there for Salazzle. And maybe to possibly get a defense boost if I need it late game. Could save me from something like, Mamoswine locked into, I don't know, Icicle Crash. I don't think I would live a Earthquake even with +2 defense, but Diamond Storm is just, like, being able to boost is nice. And really it's only there for Salazzle. I also have Earth Power. That's more for Jirachi, but that's also going to Oko Salazzle, so I don't think there are a whole lot of cases where I'd actually click Diamond Storm. So that's why I didn't really care about the fact that I was running Timid Nature with Diamond Storm. I'd rather have my defense and special defense bulk preserved and have a little bit lower attack for my Diamond Storm, because, like I said, I don't really plan on clicking. I plan on primarily clicking Moonblast and Earth Power against my opponent's team, so having my stack doesn't really make a difference. Moonblast and Earth Power hit pretty much everything on my opponent's team for either super effective or neutral damage. And the stuff that takes neutral damage from Moonblast is also just going to take a ton because Diancie is so strong. So yeah, Stealth Rock are also running that just to try and chip stuff away. So if I can get off, another 12.5% on the Mega Blastoise every time it switches in, that's going to be vital damage for putting it in Moonblast range late game, or for regular Solar Beam from Ultra, stuff like that. So yeah, that's our Diancie. Just like the Latias, since they both hit the 110 speeds here, this is just enough speed for Jirachi, max special attack, and then the rest dumped into HP, since that's Diancie's worst defensive stat is the HP. It actually makes the biggest difference if you invest into that versus defense or special defense, just because the amount that you're increasing the HP as a proportion of, like, the HP with 0 investment versus the defense with 0 investment, it's much larger if you invest into the HP. So, like, if you're increasing from 15 to 20, that's a lot better than if you're increasing from 30 to 35, right? Like, as a percentage of your bulk. So yeah, that's why I always invest in HP and Diancie. Finally, the last two members, we got some bulky Pokemon here. We got Rindoberry Quagsire with Unaware. It's a nice emergency check to something like Salazzle with HP Grass and Nasty Plot. We can ignore the Nasty Plot boost, and then Rindoberry live the HP Grass and take that thing out with Earth Power, and thus getting rid of a huge threat to my team. Earth Power is also super nice for some other stuff that could potentially pack coverage, like Jirachi, possibly an HP Grass Rotom. Not that I can really beat that with Quagsire. Possibly also Slurpuff also gets some grass type moves, so yeah. Ice Beam there for the Flygon, Earth Power there for Salazzle and Jirachi, and Scald is really just there for Mamoswine. There are very few scenarios where I'd actually click Scald probably against my opponent's team. But way more likely to just click Earth Power, Ice Beam, since those are going to be hitting big threats that Quagsire is meant to check more. We are running a special defense bulk to make sure that Life Orb, Salazzle, Fire Blast into HP Grass can never KO, and then the rest of that's just physical defense to really, like I said, take on stuff like Flygon and Mamoswine. Finally, our last Pokemon, Ferrothorn. Leftovers Iron Barbs, we're running full physically defensive. Again, this is really for Mamoswine and Jirachi. Even if it opts to go for Jirachi opts to go for something like Fire Punch, we're only going to take about 52-53% from that. And with Protect and Leftovers Recovery, we'll actually be able to recover off that damage pretty easily, especially with Leech Seed. If I can Leech Seed something like Rotom Wash and then Protect, I can get back a ton of HP, so Jirachi's not really going to be able to beat this thing down. I've also got Spikes, like I said with the Stealth Rock on Diancie. Spikes or Stealth Rock are going to be vital for chipping down my opponent and making sure that they're in KO range for late game. And really that's what I'm working for, is just putting everything into KO range for something like Diancie to just punch through in the end. Leech Seed is really just to help this Ferrothorn recover health. Same with Protect, I can scout potentially Choice Lock Pokemon. Also, just with Leech Seed, it's another turn of Leech Seed plus Leftovers that I get back, so it keeps Ferrothorn healthy. And last move, I was looking at my opponent's team. I was thinking about running Gyro Ball as my mono attack, but Power Whip's just a lot better. Hitting Mamoswine, Rotom Wash, Blastoise, hits Flygon for neutral, hits Hitmonlee for neutral, hits Slurpuff for neutral, so I figured Power Whip would be just a little bit better overall if I was only going to run one attack. But yeah, that's our team. And with that, let us go ahead and get into our battles. Alright, so here we are with our game. Called a number of these Pokemon correctly, so he does have the Salazzle, the Rotom Wash, the Breloom, and the Jirachi. The Pokemon that differed from what I expected, instead of having a Mamoswine or Flygon, he's got a Alolan Persian, and instead of Mega Blastoise, he has a Slurpuff. I was so glad when I saw that there was no Mega Blastoise, because Mega Blastoise was a huge pain for my team to KO, so not having to deal with that at all made me feel a lot better going into this. Persian is a little bit annoying with its ability to just resurrect a Pokemon with Z Parting Shot. And Slurpuff is a little bit scary because depending on the set, with Unburden, if it's something like a Calm Mind special attacker that could be scary, Belly Drum could also be scary if he's packing something like Belly Drum, Drain Punch, Play Rough, Grass Knot or something like that, because it could then break through my Quagsire and potentially sweep. But yeah, so definitely gonna have to make sure that I keep Slurpuff in check and keep myself in a position where Slurpuff can't just set up for free and win. If it's a special attacking set, I'm a lot less worried because then it has to rely on something like Draining Kiss for recovery. If you're running like Surf, Calm Mind, Surf, Flamethrower, Draining Kiss, Draining Kiss is so weak, and Dazzling Gleam is more powerful, but obviously there's no recovery for it. So I think something like my specially defensive Lax should be able to take on a Calm Mind Slurpuff, and if it's Belly Drum, the fact that it has to sacrifice 50% of its HP and it only gets whatever 25% back with the Citrus means that if I can keep up hazards and make sure I have a strong attacker in any time that Slurpuff comes in, we're pretty much going to prevent it from being able to Belly Drum up. And that makes it extremely weak and extremely easy to deal with. So that's kind of my game plan. I prepped for everything else, barring the Persian and the Slurpuff pretty well, so I'm confident that we'll be able to pull this off. So let's go ahead and get started here. So turn 1, I lead Ferrothorn as my opponent leads Jirachi. Wasn't too sure what they would lead here, but I figured Ferrothorn was pretty safe for everything. If he did lead something like Salazzle or Breloom, I did have ways of switching into those Pokemon, so I wasn't too concerned. So I figured let's just go ahead and lead off with Ferrothorn and see if we get up a Spike turn 1. So he does lead Jirachi at Protect, see what he goes for. He does go for the Fire Punch here. Now, having revealed Protect, look at all my fire resists, right? I have Latias, Diancie, Quagsire, and Moltres. Snorlax 2 also counts if because that's thick fat. So if my opponent is not Choice Scarf, I don't necessarily expect him to stay in here. If he is Choice Scarf, obviously he has to stay in and click Fire Punch. If he's not Choice Scarf, I kind of expect a U-turn to come out here. But thinking about my risk management here, Fire Punch, because I'm physically defensive Ferrothorn, like I said, it's only going to do about 50%, and then with Protect, I can actually get back a ton of HP. So he goes for the Fire Punch, does 59. So I look at my damage calcs, that tells me that he is Adamant Jirachi, or he potentially has a boosting move. Iron Barbs activate, nothing else happens. So that tells me, okay, well, this is not Life Orb Jirachi. It could be Expert Belt or something like that, but more than likely it's just going to be like Adamant Scarf, because that makes sense for my opponent. You don't need to run Jolly because it already outspeeds everything on my team. They can hit it super well with Adamant Scarf. So as I just get up the Spike there on the Fire Punch here, I think this turn he's going out to Breloom. I predict that he is in fact Choice Scarf, and I'm actually going to double out to my Moltres here rather than protecting on the, because obviously Protect is very obvious, so my opponent should be able to get in something like Breloom or Salazzle for free on this Protect. So I go to Moltres here. Now, I want to play super safe here, because Moltres is really good here with the Bloom Doom. I can take care of the Rotom Wash. I can also do a ton of damage to Jirachi, Breloom on switch-ins. Also does a lot to Slurpuff, and Slurpuff can't do a ton to Moltres back with the Belly Drum build, so potentially Moltres could check it and also get a Flame Body off. So I'm not just going to sack my Moltres here. I'm going to scout for potential Scarf Breloom. I'm going to go out to Latias here on the Breloom. He does switch out, which does tell me, okay, that's not Choice Scarf Breloom, so I don't need to be concerned about that. He goes Rotom Wash on my Moltres here, and he's just going to Volt Switch here as I bring in Ferrothorn. I figured this was the safest play for me to make, as my opponent's going to bring Breloom back in. Now here, I don't want to risk a Swords Dance, so I'm just going to go hard on Latias as he Mach Punches. Does 16, and obviously we don't see a Life Orb, so it tells me this Breloom might be something like Focus Sash Breloom, so that's a lot more manageable, a lot less damage output coming out without a Life Orb on this Pokemon. And here, I end up making a really good play. So obviously I realize my opponent is not going to just sack their Breloom. Mach Punch is super great for stuff like Snorlax, Ferrothorn, getting a nice chip off on Diancie. Bullet Seed is great for Quagsire. My opponent is not going to sack their Breloom here. I do expect them to go out to either their Jirachi or their Persian, which do kind of wall my Latias. So I'm going to click T-Wave on the switch in here. Jirachi takes a turn of spikes and catches the T-Wave. So assuming my hunch is correct and that is Choice Scarf Jirachi, it is absolutely crippled on this turn. So it's a great turn for me. I'm going to go out to Moltres here. I expect you're going to go for U-turn or Iron Head here, if anything. So I figure Moltres is a good play. As my opponent actually gets paralyzed, so I do get a totally free switch into Moltres here. And now no reason not to just click Flamethrower here. No really good resist on my opponent's team other than the Rotom Wash. So as mentioned in Team Builder, I am packing the Grass DMZ Bloom Doom, or the Grass DMZ Solar Beam to knock out this Rotom. But I'm not going to click it here because my opponent, like I said, knows that I'm going to be all Z move Rotom or Moltres, and I could be packing Grassium Z. So I kind of expect him to scout for it. So I'm actually going to pull switch out into Ferrothorn here, and I'm going to pretend like I don't actually have a good way to hit this Rotom with my Moltres. That's what I'm going for here. Rotom just defogs, so he doesn't scout for it, and that tells me that in the future he probably won't scout for it again, especially because of the way I behaved. So he Volters out, Spike goes right back up, and I go right back out into Latias. And of course, guys, you already know my prep is going to come through here, and that Spore is going to land right on my safety goggles. Latias is still going to be wide awake to see what's going on here, and is going to click Draco Meteor and get off a nice like 28% on this, or 22% on this Scarf Jirachi here. Here, free to switch out into Ferrothorn here. I do expect him to just go for a U-turn. He does get it off, takes another 12%. As now he brings in Rotom here. So yeah, he really has no way to deal with this. He really has just no good way to deal with this Ferrothorn right now. Here I'm just going to click Leech Seed because I figure he's probably going to defog, thinking that I don't have a grass move here, and this can be just a way to get my Ferrothorn a little bit healthier and get some HP back on this guy. Again, no reason to protect in case he hard switches out instead of volt switching, fearing my protect. So I'm just going to get that Spike right back up here because Spike is just so good. Here, I am finally going to click protect here as he does click Fire Punch. So yeah, this gives me a free switch into Moltres here. He doesn't really have any good way double to counter this. I'm just going to throw off the Flamethrower here. You're doing 25%, and then, just like I said, I baited him into thinking I don't have a good way to hit this Rotom. And we are just going to obliterate this guy right here, right now. Bloom Doom Moltres, bye-bye Rotom. So my Spike is up. He now has no more hazard removal, so any potential sashes on stuff like Persian, Slurpuff, or Salazzle are now broken. We're in good position. He does bring out Salazzle here. Of course, this is where my Snorlax comes in here. He does just throw off a Toxic, and I'm going to see Leftovers. So it does tell me he's probably running something like Sub-Protect Toxic on this Salazzle. Which is cool, a cool build. Definitely nowhere near as scary as the offensive build that I was fearing, so we'll take that here. I'm just going to click return here as he goes for the taunt. I do a ton of damage here. That 56% tells me that he does have some HP investment because it should have done a lot more if he had 0 bulk. It tells me he's probably something close to like 252 HP, which does, again, make the Salazzle even less scary than before. Now here, I figure he's going to either go for Protect or something like... I figure he's probably going to go for Protect if he has it. So I'm going to make an aggressive double here out into my Diancie, because what I don't want to have happen here is something like Persian come in and try to pave the way for Slurpuff to get off a Belly Drum and start doing damage to my team. So that's what I really am afraid of here, is something like the Persian double. So I'm going to either Protect or the Persian double. So I'm going to go out into Diancie here. As my opponent does, in fact, go out into Breloom, which is totally fine with me, because obviously I brought in Diancie, I can Moonblast this thing, I'll take the Mach Punch, that'll be okay, but getting off a ton of damage on this Breloom would be awesome for me. I already confirmed that it's not Specs, or a Scarf based on my opponent played, so we're able to get rid of the Breloom with the Mach Punch. Not really sure why my opponent expects to go Jirachi here. If he is in fact Scarf, he does die to Moonblast, but I figure on the off chance that he expected, if he was something like Assault Vest Jirachi instead of Choice Scarf, I figured that was the only reason he would bring this thing in, because maybe Assault Vest Jirachi lives Moonblast from 16%, but obviously I have Earth Power, and I'm just going to knock out the Jirachi here. So I pick up another KO with Diancie here. Salazzle's going to come back in, and here I end up making what may seem like a questionable play. I end up going for Stealth Rock here. The reason I go for the Stealth Rock is because what the Stealth Rock will do is, assuming that it's a no-bulk Slurpuff, no-bulk Slurpuff takes 74.5 to 88.9% from Moonblast. So what putting up the Stealth Rock would do would put the Slurpuff at 75%, thereby guaranteeing that Moonblast is just going to knock it out, and I don't have to deal with any unburdened shenanigans. So yeah, I'm going to go for the Stealth Rock here. The Sludge Wave does 41%, which is annoying. I was kind of expecting it to be mono fire move Salazzle, something like Toxic, Taunt, Flamethrower, Sub, or Protect, instead of a Sludge Wave. So that Sludge Wave does a ton, and but it's not that big of a deal, right? Because I'm just going to be able to go for an Earth Power and knock this thing out on this turn. But unfortunately, he does critical hit me. That knocks out my Diancie. So now I'm a little bit scared, because that Slurpuff is looking a little bit scarier if I can't check it. I I go for the Thunder Wave here, expecting this to be something like, expecting him to taunt, because if he does taunt me, if he does just taunt here and my Thunder Wave fails, then I'm already going to burn off 1 turn of taunt, and I can possibly make it to where I can have 0 turns of taunt remaining as Slurpuff comes out, and then I can Thunder Wave the Slurpuff as it comes in, which again will cripple it. But he doesn't, he just Toxics. I get the Thunder Wave off here, and I'm able to just click Psychic and get rid of this Salazzle. Great, so now Slurpuff comes out, I can Thunder Wave it and cripple it, but Persian comes out instead. So here, I figure this thing probably does have Taunt, so I'm just going to throw off the Thunder Wave here for the same reason as before. Potentially I could maneuver myself in a position where I knock out this thing as my Taunt expires. But of course I missed Thunder Wave. Nice Gen 7 nerf coming through there. This thing could be useful for potentially Thunder Waving Slurpuff if somehow I got to double down against Persian. So I'm not going to let it drop. Also differential purposes. If I can just win this game without having to risk this Latias here, it'll be nice to just keep it alive. So I'm going to go out to Ferrothorn here, so I see him just go for the foul play. It really does no damage to my Ferrothorn here because of all the defensive bulk that I have. Here I just click Leech Seed. Again, I wasn't too concerned about that taunt play coming up, because if he does taunt, that's 6% back with my leftovers. And again, I'm burning a taunt here. I should be able to 2-hit KO Persian with Power Whips into Iron Barbs damage, and that means that if I do kill it in the next 2 turns, Slurpuff will come in with the taunt gone, and I'll be able to Leech Seed it and stop it that way. But he is just going for foul play here. I'm going to click Power Whip here. He's down to 19%. This is great because this Persian is now effectively dead. If it switches back in on hazards, it's going to get KO'd. So yeah, Persian is no longer a threat to my team. I calced potential Black Hole Eclipse, so Z foul play from Persian, but it doesn't KO my Ferrothorn, so I figure my best play is just to stick it out here and click Power Whip. But he parting shots into the Slurpuff here, which can take 25% from hazards, and I whack it with the Power Whip. Does 35%, procs that Citrus Berry here, and so now the Slurpuff is sitting at 66% without any recovery. Obviously, he is not going to be able to Belly Drum up on me if that is in fact his set, because he's going to just get KO'd by Leech Seed. And to protect, 2 turns of Leech Seed is going to KO the Slurpuff if he Belly Drums. If he switches in the Persian, he can't really navigate with that because the Persian's going to die to hazards, and then Slurpuff will come back in and take more hazards. So I think I'm pretty safe now at this point. Even if he is Flamethrower Slurpuff, and he kills my Ferrothorn, that's fine, because then I'm going to be able to go out into Moltres and just nuke this thing with the Flamethrower, and then we'll win the game. Also, Snorlax is going to be able to take on something like Slurpuff with only special moves. But he goes for the Drain Punch. Fizdef Ferrothorn, the absolute legend, takes no damage from that non-stab attack. Slurpuff is also pretty weak without Belly Drum, so we eat up that Drain Punch, 24% from the super effective move. We Leech Seed here, and the game is over at this point. I'm going to go out to Moltres here, expecting the Drain Punch. Yeah, and I'm faster. Well, he's faster with Unburden, but obviously without boost, he can't do anything to me. He goes for Play Rough for 20%. I Flamethrower, knock him out, and then the Persian is going to die to hazards. It actually dies to the Stealth Rock, so I think that KO goes to Diancie, since Diancie set the Stealth Rock, so I think Diancie is going to get the KO on the Persian. But yeah, anyways, the Persian gets knocked out, and that ends the game here. 5-0 in our favor. GG's to Alex and the Wisconsin Whimsicott. We're going to be moving up to 3-2 now with a +12 differential, which puts us solidly in 6th place in the league. So moving up after our 1-2 start. Definitely happy with my prep this week. Seems like everything kind of came through on the techs, and yeah, played pretty well. So yeah, this was definitely a good week. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll be back next week for some more APA action. Till then, Kim Coop, coach to your San Antonio Salamence, signing off. Peace.